Guards, throw her out. She smells like poverty. Amara's soaked dress clung to her ribs as the Crystal Palace gates slammed shut. The invitation, her grandmother's dying wish, lay torn at her feet. Champagne from inside splashed her pale blue dress, staining it dark. Her silver thimble fell into mud. She didn't cry. She picked up the torn pieces, looked directly at the security camera, and walked away. Have you ever been invisible to people who should have seen you? Ever held truth in your hands while they called you a liar? This is one of the most powerful African stories you'll witness. It's about life stories that prove one encounter can rewrite destiny. This touching story, born from real-life stories across our continent, shows how a billionaire prince didn't just change a girl's circumstances. He changed how she saw herself, but what she didn't know. He'd been searching for her for 20 years. 3 weeks earlier, Amara had knelt beside her grandmother's bed in their one-room shack on the edge of Emberfield village. Mama Zuri's breathing rattled like dry leaves. Her hand, papery and cold, clutched Amara's wrist. "The boy," Zuri whispered. "The river. You must go to him. Grandmother, rest. Don't talk. Find him. The prince." He promised. Zuri's eyes burned with fever. He promised he'd remember. Those were her last words. Amara found the envelope 3 days later, tucked inside Zuri's sewing box beneath rolls of thread. Her hand shook as she broke the wax seal. Inside, a royal invitation embossed with gold ink. Prince Kofi's 30th birthday gala. Crystal Palace, black tie. And at the bottom, the king's crimson seal, a red wax stamp bearing the royal crest. A letter accompanied it, written in Zuri's careful script. "My dearest Amara, if you are reading this, I am gone. 20 years ago, I saved a drowning boy from the palace lake. His father, the king, gave me this invitation as thanks. He said it grants lifetime access under Royal Decree 447. The boy's name was Kofi. He is your prince now. Go to him. Let him see what his promise meant. Let him know I never regretted diving in. Your grandmother." Amara read it 7 times. Her grandmother. A royal seamstress? Her hero who saved the prince? None of it made sense. Zuri had been banished when Amara was 5. Everyone said she was a thief who'd stolen from Queen Seraphine, but dying people don't lie. Amara borrowed 200 francs from Dr. Thandaiwe at the village clinic. She washed her only dress, pale blue cotton with silver threading, 7 times until the stains faded. She walked 8 kilometers to the bus station. The ticket to the capital cost 180 francs. She had 20 left. The palace rose before her like a mountain of glass and marble. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway. Women in designer gowns glided past, dripping diamonds. Security guards in crisp uniforms flanked every entrance. Amara's dress was already dusty from the walk. Her sandals, repaired with wire where the strap had broken, left her feet blistered. She clutched the invitation inside a plastic bag to keep it dry. Storm clouds gathered overhead. She approached the main entrance. A line of guests waited to be checked in. She joined the queue. The woman ahead of her wore a gown that probably cost more than Amara's entire neighborhood. Her perfume was sharp and floral. She glanced back, saw Amara, and wrinkled her nose. "Excuse me, miss. The service entrance is around back. I'm a guest," Amara said quietly. The woman laughed and turned away. Amara reached the security checkpoint. Commander Javan, a broad-shouldered man with cold eyes, scanned her from head to toe. His lip curled. "Delivery entrance is in the back. I'm not delivering anything. I have an invitation." She pulled the envelope from the plastic bag and held it out. Javan took it, examined it for 3 seconds. Then he laughed. "A bark of contempt. Where'd you steal this? Print shop downtown? It's real. Please check the registry. Zuri Okafor. Issued by the late king 20 years ago." His smile vanished. "Zuri Okafor the thief. You're her granddaughter." He turned to the other guards. "The bloodline that stole from Queen Seraphine thinks it can waltz in here." Phones appeared. Guests turned to stare. Someone started recording. A woman in a shimmering gold gown emerged from inside the palace. "Lady Moreo, senior advisor to the Queen." Her jade ring caught the light as she moved. "What's this disturbance?" "Street orphan with a counterfeit invitation, my lady," Javan said. Morayo examined the invitation, recognition flickering across her face, then calculation. "Ah, yes." Her voice dripped false sympathy. The thief's kin, still desperate for royal scraps after all these years. "My grandmother saved Prince Kofi's life," Amara said. Her voice shook but held. "The king gave her this invitation as thanks. It's protected under Royal Decree 447. Lifetime access." Murayo's smile was ice. "Decree 447 applies to honored citizens, child, not convicted criminals. Your grandmother was banished for theft. Her name was struck from all registries. That's not true. Commander, empty her pockets. Let's see what else she planned to steal tonight." The crowd pressed closer. Phones captured everything. Amara's hands trembled as she turned out her pockets. 3 crumpled franc notes, a bus ticket stub, and the silver thimble on a chain around her neck. "See?" Murayo gestured grandly. "Came to beg or steal? Like grandmother, like granddaughter." Someone in the crowd threw their champagne. The liquid arced through the air and splashed across Amara's chest. The pale blue fabric darkened instantly. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Amara bent to retrieve her thimble, which had slipped from her neck. Javan's boot came down on her hand. "Leave it. Stolen property stays here." Pain shot up her arm. She looked up at him, then past him to the crowd. Every face was the same. Disgust, amusement, contempt. The first drops of rain began to fall. "My grandmother died believing the prince would remember her," Amara said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. "She died believing this kingdom had honor. I see now that was her only mistake." She stood slowly, leaving the thimble in the mud. She didn't wipe the champagne from her dress. She walked through the parting crowd with her shoulders back and her head high. The rain soaked her as she walked down the long driveway. Behind her, laughter and music resumed. She didn't cry. Inside the palace, in a security monitoring room, Prince Kofi stared at the live feed. He'd been reviewing guest arrivals when the commotion started. He watched the girl walk away, watched Javan pick up the silver thimble and toss it into an evidence box. Kofi's hand went to his desk drawer. Inside, wrapped in silk, was another silver thimble, identical. He'd carried it for 20 years. His fingers trembled as he reached for the phone. "Find her," he said. "Find Amara Okafor. Now." The video went viral by morning, #PalaceGate, delusional orphan claims royal invite exposed, 4.1 million views in 18 hours. The comments section was a feeding frenzy. Orphans should know their place. This is what entitlement looks like. Grandmother was a thief, granddaughter's a liar. Blood doesn't lie. Amara watched the video once on a cracked smartphone at the village internet cafe. She paid 5 francs for 10 minutes. She didn't watch it again. By the end of the week, her life had collapsed. The bakery fired her first. Can't have controversy working our ovens. Bad for business. She'd worked there for 3 years, 6 nights a week, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They paid her for 2 days and told her to leave. The laundry service fired her next. Then the market cleaning crew. You embarrassed the whole village, Amara. People talk. Customers ask questions. Her landlord came on day 8. You have until Sunday. Property value drops when scandal tenants live here. The village church refused her entry that Sunday. We can't have this kind of attention, sister. Perhaps another parish. Former friends crossed the street when they saw her. Mothers pulled their children away. The baker's son, who'd smiled at her for months, spat at her feet. On day 10, the elders summoned her to the village square. 12 men in white robes sat in a semicircle. The entire village watched from behind them. Amara stood alone in the center. Elder Okonkwo spoke first. His voice boomed across the square. Amara Okafor, you have brought shame to Emberfield. Your delusions have made us a laughingstock across the kingdom. We demand a public apology, recorded, posted online. Admit you lied about the invitation. Admit your grandmother was a thief. Restore our dignity. Amara's voice was steady. I won't apologize for telling the truth. Then you are no longer welcome here. That night she slept in an abandoned clinic on the village outskirts. The building had been condemned 5 years ago. Broken windows, rusted equipment, rats in the walls. But it had a roof. She carried everything she owned in one canvas bag. 2 dresses, a bar of soap, her grandmother's letter, and the torn invitation she'd collected from the palace gates. She didn't have the thimble. Javan still had it. For 3 days she ate nothing. On the 4th day, she found a bakery trash bin behind the market. The bread was 2 days old, covered in mold. She scraped off the mold and ate. On day 7, she wrote a note on a torn piece of paper. I can't do this anymore. Forgive me, grandmother. I tried. She folded it carefully and placed it in her pocket. She walked to the bridge over the Kono River. The same river where Zuri had saved young Prince Kofi 20 years ago. She stood at the railing. The water rushed 30 feet below, dark and cold. She thought about her grandmother's last words. He promised he'd remember. She thought about the laughter at the palace gates, the champagne on her dress, Javan's boot on her hand. She thought about being invisible. Her fingers gripped the railing. She closed her eyes. "Child, what are you doing up there?" Amara turned. An elderly woman stood at the foot of the bridge. She wore a simple dress and carried a medical bag. Her face was kind, lined with age. "Nothing. I'm fine. You're standing on a bridge in the rain at midnight. You're not fine." The woman climbed the steps slowly. "I'm Dr. Thandiwe. I used to run the clinic you're sleeping in." Amara's breath caught. "How did you—" "Small village. People talk." Dr. Thandiwe reached the top and stood beside her. "I heard what happened at the palace. I saw the video." "Then you know I'm a liar. I know you're Zuri's granddaughter. And I know your grandmother was no thief." Amara turned to face her. "You knew her?" "I was the doctor on duty the night Prince Kofi nearly drowned. Your grandmother saved his life. I treated the boy afterward. Hypothermia, water in his lungs. Without her, he would have died." The rain fell harder. Amara's voice broke. "Then why did everyone say she stole from the queen?" "Because the truth was more dangerous than a lie. Come with me. There's something you need to see." Dr. Thandiwe's house was small but warm. She made tea and set a plate of bread and cheese on the table. Amara ate slowly, ashamed of her hunger. The doctor disappeared into a back room and returned with a metal lockbox. "Your grandmother gave me this the day she was banished. She made me promise to keep it safe, to give it to you when you were grown and only if she was gone." She unlocked it. Inside were documents, photographs, and letters. Dr. Thandiwe laid them out one by one. First, the original royal invitation, signed by the late King Adebayo. The crimson seal was intact. At the bottom, handwritten in ink, "For Zuri Okafor, who gave my son his life back. Access granted under Royal Decree 447, in perpetuity." Second, a photograph. Young Prince Kofi in a hospital bed, maybe 10 years old. He was smiling. Beside him sat Zuri, younger, radiant. The king stood behind them, hand on Zuri's shoulder. Third, a child's drawing, crayon on paper. A woman pulling a boy from blue waves. At the bottom, in a child's handwriting, "The lady who saved me. I will never forget her." Dashke Amara's hands trembled as she held the drawing. "He remembered," she whispered. He did. But they made sure he couldn't find her. Fourth, a notarized testimony dated 23 years ago. Zuri's signature at the bottom. Amara read it slowly. Her grandmother's words described what she'd witnessed. Queen Seraphine meeting a foreign diplomat in the palace gardens late at night. An embrace, a kiss. Zuri had been delivering gowns. She'd seen too much. Lady Marayo had found her 3 days later. "Forget what you saw or your granddaughter will pay." Zuri refused to lie in official testimony, so Marayo framed her, planted jewelry in Zuri's sewing bag, accused her of theft. The conviction was sealed within a week. "Your grandmother was banished to protect the queen's secret," Dr. Thandiwe said, "and to protect you. Marayo threatened you specifically. Zuri left to keep you safe." Amara stared at the documents. "Proof, real, tangible proof. Why didn't you come forward?" "I was afraid." "I'm ashamed of that now. But Amara, you're not afraid. You stood at those palace gates and told the truth even when the world called you a liar. That's courage your grandmother would recognize." Amara looked up. "What do I do with this?" "That's your choice. But I'll tell you what I know. Prince Kofi hosts a charity gala in 3 weeks. Public event. Anyone can buy a ticket for 100 francs. Large donors get a private audience with him. I don't have 100 francs, I do. And I owe your grandmother a debt I can never repay. Let me help you." Amara's eyes filled. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I was silent once and it cost a good woman everything." "I won't be silent again." Dr. Thandiwe offered Amara a job. Night custodian at her private practice, minimum wage, but it came with a storage room she could sleep in. Amara accepted. For the next 3 weeks she worked. Midnight to 6 a.m., mopping floors, sanitizing equipment, filing records. During the day she researched. She learned about Royal Decree 447. She memorized palace protocols. She practiced what she'd say if she got 5 minutes with Prince Kofi. Dr. Thandiwe contributed 1,500 francs. The elderly archives clerk Musa, who remembered Zuri fondly, gave 1,200. Together with Amara's savings, they reached 5,000 francs, enough for platinum donor status. Guaranteed private audience with the prince, Amara bought the ticket online. She borrowed a dress from Dr. Thandiwe's daughter. Simple, silver, dignified. She practiced walking in shoes that didn't hurt. She stopped checking the viral video comments. She stopped imagining the bridge railing. She chose to be seen. On the morning of the gala, she stood in front of a mirror. The girl staring back was thin, tired, but unbroken. "Grandmother," she whispered, "if he doesn't remember you, at least he'll know I tried." She didn't know that across the city, in the royal palace, Prince Kofi was staring at the same silver thimble he'd confiscated from evidence. He'd been searching for Amara Okafor for 3 weeks. His investigator had finally found her. Tonight, their paths would cross again. The charity gala was held in the East Wing ballroom, smaller than the main palace, but no less opulent. Crystal chandeliers, marble columns, 500 guests in evening wear. Amara arrived at 7 p.m. She wore the borrowed silver dress and carried a leather portfolio folder. Dr. Thandau's idea. Inside, copies of every document from the lockbox. Her platinum donor badge was pinned to her chest. Her hands didn't shake this time. Security waved her through without incident. No one recognized her from the viral video. The dress helped. So did her posture. She walked like she belonged. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. A string quartet played in the corner. At the front of the room, a stage was set for the evening's program. Amara found a spot near the back and watched. Lady Morayo stood near the stage, clipboard in hand, directing staff. She wore emerald green tonight. The jade ring on her finger caught the light. Commander Javan stood by the VIP entrance, arms crossed, scanning the crowd. Amara's pulse quickened. She lowered her head and moved toward the opposite side of the room. The program began at 7:30. A Minister of Health gave opening remarks about the children's hospital the gala would fund. Polite applause. Then a video montage of sick children receiving treatment. Tissues came out across the room. At 8 p.m., Prince Kofi took the stage. He wore a dark suit, no royal regalia. He looked tired, older than his 30 years. But when he spoke, his voice was steady. "Thank you all for coming tonight. Every franc raised goes directly to pediatric care for children who can't afford treatment. This cause is personal to me. When I was 10, I nearly died. A stranger saved my life. I've spent 20 years trying to honor that gift. This hospital is part of that promise." He didn't elaborate. The crowd applauded. "Now we'll recognize our platinum donors." These individuals contributed 5,000 francs or more. "Please join me on stage for a brief thank you." 15 people stood. Amara was 16th. They formed a line at the stage steps. One by one, Kofi shook hands, posed for photos, exchanged a few words. Each interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds. Amara's turn came. She climbed the steps. Kofi extended his hand, smiling automatically. Then his eyes met hers. He froze. The smile vanished. His hand hung in the air between them. "You," he whispered. The room was too loud for anyone else to hear. Amara took his hand. "Your Highness, you're Zuri's granddaughter." Yes, his grip tightened. "You came to my birthday gala, with my invitation, and my guards. It's all right, it's not all right." His voice was raw. "I've been searching for you for 3 weeks. My investigator found you 2 days ago. I was going to come to you, but—" He stopped, looked around. Lady Morayo was watching from the wings, eyes narrowed. Kofi released Amara's hand and addressed the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, please excuse me for a moment. Miss Okafor and I have something to discuss. Continue enjoying the evening." He gestured toward a side door. "Please." 5 minutes. Amara followed him off the stage. Morayo moved to intercept, but Kofi held up a hand. "Not now." They entered a small study off the ballroom. Kofi closed the door. The music and chatter became muffled. He turned to face her. Up close, she could see the tension in his jaw, the shadows under his eyes. "I owe you an apology this kingdom will never be able to repay. Your Highness, please, just Kofi." He ran a hand over his face. "I watched the security footage. I watched them throw champagne at you. I watched Javan step on your hand. I watched you walk away in the rain. You were there?" I was reviewing arrival footage when it happened. I didn't know who you were at first. But then I saw this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver thimble, placed it on the desk between them. I took it from evidence that night, because I have one just like it. He opened a drawer and retrieved a second thimble, identical to the first. Your grandmother gave this to me 20 years ago. She pulled me from the river, got me breathing again, and when I was conscious, she pressed this into my palm. She said, "Remember this, remember kindness." I never forgot her face, but I didn't know her name. My parents told me she'd moved away. I drew pictures of her. I asked about her for years. They said they'd lost touch. His voice cracked. They lied. Amara opened the portfolio and laid the documents on the desk. The photograph. The testimony. The drawing. Kofi picked up his childhood drawing. His hands shook. I made this in the hospital. I was so scared I'd forget her. He looked up at Amara, eyes wet. Why didn't she come back? Why didn't she tell me what they did to her? Because Lady Morayo threatened me. My grandmother left to keep me safe. Kofi's face hardened. Morayo Amara showed him the testimony. He read it slowly, lips moving. When he finished, he was silent for a long moment. My mother had an affair, yes, and Morayo covered it up by framing your grandmother. Yes, for 20 years, I've been searching for the woman who saved my life. And for 20 years, my chief advisor has been sitting across from me in council meetings, knowing exactly where she was, knowing what she did. He stood abruptly, paced the small room. Do you know what this means? My mother, Queen Seraphine, was complicit. She let an innocent woman be destroyed to hide her shame. And I... He stopped, looked at Amara. I've been funding Morayo's salary, trusting her advice, letting her run palace security. You didn't know, I should have known. His voice was sharp with self-recrimination. You came to my birthday gala with a legitimate invitation, and my guards called you a liar. They humiliated you in front of the world, because I didn't ask questions, because I trusted the wrong people. Amara stepped closer. Your Highness, Kofi, I didn't come here for revenge. I came because my grandmother's last wish was for you to know she never regretted saving you. Even after everything, he stared at her. Why are you so calm? After what they did to you, after what I let happen, because anger is heavy. I've carried enough weight. Kofi sank into a chair, rubbed his eyes. When he looked up, his expression was resolute. Amara, I can't undo what was done, but I can make sure it never happens again. Will you trust me? Will you stand beside me tomorrow when I confront them publicly? Publicly? I'm calling an emergency assembly. Royal Court, press, witnesses. I'm going to present this evidence. I'm going to ask my mother and Morayo to explain themselves in front of the kingdom. And I want you there, visible. Undeniable proof that Zuri Okafor's legacy cannot be erased. Amara's breath caught. They'll destroy me again. Not if I'm standing with you. Not if the truth is on camera. He leaned forward. I'm asking you to be brave one more time. Not for me. For your grandmother. Let the kingdom see you. Let them know who Zuri really was. She thought of the bridge railing, the suicide note, the viral video comments. She thought of Dr. Thandiwi's words. You're not afraid. What do I have to do? Just sit beside me. I'll do the talking. All you have to do is exist. Can you do that? Yes, Kofi stood, extended his hand again. This time it wasn't a formal handshake. It was a pact tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Crystal Palace throne room. I'll send a car for you. I don't need... Please, let me do this one thing right. They returned to the ballroom. The gala was still in full swing. Morayo watched them emerge from the study, jaw tight. Kofi walked directly to her. Lady Morayo, clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I'm calling an emergency assembly of the royal court. Your Highness, tomorrow is... Clear it. May I ask what this concerns? You'll find out with everyone else. He turned and walked away. Morayo's eyes followed him, then slid to Amara. For just a moment, fear flashed across her face. Amara met her gaze and didn't look away. The next morning, Amara arrived at the palace in a car sent by Prince Kofi. No gates slammed this time. Security waved her through. She was escorted to a private sitting room. A stylist waited inside. His Highness requested I help you prepare for the assembly, the woman said kindly. Only if you'd like. Amara nodded. An hour later, she wore a tailored silver suit. Her hair was styled simply. No excessive jewelry, just the silver thimble on a new chain. At 8:50 a.m., Kofi knocked on the door. He wore full royal regalia this time. Sash, medals, crown. He looked every inch a prince. "Are you ready?" "No, but I'll do it anyway," he smiled. Small but genuine, that's all courage ever is. They walked together through marble corridors. Staff stopped and stared. Word had already spread. Something big was happening. The throne room doors opened, 1,000 people filled the space. Nobles in the front rows, press cameras lining the walls. A public gallery in the back, standing room only. At the front, on a raised platform, sat 3 chairs. The center throne was for Kofi. To the right, a smaller chair for witnesses. To the left, 2 chairs for the accused. Queen Seraphine was already seated in the audience, face pale. Lady Morayo stood near the side entrance, arms crossed. Commander Javan shifted nervously beside her. Kofi led Amara to the witness chair. She sat. He took his place on the throne. The room fell silent. Kofi's voice rang out, clear and steady. "This assembly has been called to address a grave injustice. 20 years ago, a woman named Zuri Okafor saved my life. She pulled me from the Kono River and brought me back from drowning. My father, King Adebayo, thanked her personally and granted her a royal invitation under Decree 447. He gestured to a screen behind him. The hospital photograph appeared. Young Kofi, Zuri, the king. 3 weeks ago, Zuri's granddaughter, Amara Okafor, attempted to attend my birthday gala using that invitation. She was turned away, humiliated, and assaulted by palace security. The incident went viral. 4.1 million people watched her be called a liar. The photograph of the humiliation appeared on screen. Amara's champagne-stained dress. Javan's boot on her hand. Today I present evidence that Amara Okafor was telling the truth. That her grandmother was not a thief. That she was framed to protect a lie. He projected the testimony. The notarized document Zuri Okafor witnessed Queen Seraphine in a compromising position with foreign diplomat Lord Idris Okoro. She was ordered to forget what she saw. She refused. 3 days later, jewelry was planted in her bag. She was convicted of theft and banished. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed. Queen Seraphine closed her eyes. Kofi's voice hardened. "Lady Morayo, Commander Javan, please take your seats." Lady Morayo didn't move. Her face had gone rigid, mask-like. "Your Highness, this is highly irregular. I haven't been informed of any charges. Sit down." Kofi's voice was ice. Commander Javan took his seat immediately. Morayo followed slowly, jade ring glinting as she gripped the armrest. Kofi continued. "I'll start with the evidence." He projected the first document, Dr. Thandiwi's medical report from the night of the drowning. "Dr. Thandiwi treated me for hypothermia and water aspiration. Her report specifically credits Zuri Okafor with performing CPR and rescue. Without her intervention, I would have suffered brain death within 4 minutes." He turned to the audience. "Dr. Thandiwi, are you present?" An elderly woman stood in the gallery. "I am, Your Highness." "Is this your signature on the medical report?" "Yes, every word is true." "Zuri Okafor saved your life, thank you." Kofi nodded and she sat. He projected the next document. The original royal invitation, signed by King Adebayo. "My father issued this invitation to Zuri Okafor 3 days after the incident. It grants lifetime access under Royal Decree 447, which states, quote, any citizen bearing the King's Crimson Seal may attend state functions without question, in perpetuity, as recognition of extraordinary service to the Crown," end quote. He looked at Commander Javan. "Commander, when Amara Okafor presented this invitation 3 weeks ago, what did you do?" Javan's voice was barely audible. "I refused her entry. On what grounds? Lady Morayo told me Zuri Okafor's name had been struck from the registry, that she was a convicted thief, that any family member should be denied, and the invitation itself. Did you verify its authenticity?" "No, Your Highness." "Did you check the registry to confirm the deletion was legitimate?" "I trusted Lady Morayo's word." Kofi's jaw tightened. "You trusted her word over a document bearing my father's signature and the royal seal." "Silence, Commander Javan. 3 weeks ago, you stepped on Amara Okafor's hand when she bent to retrieve her grandmother's thimble. Do you deny this?" Javan's face crumbled. "No, Your Highness. I don't deny it. Why did you do it?" I believed she was a threat. I was wrong. I'm sorry." He turned to Amara, tears streaming. Miss Okafor, I'm deeply sorry. I have no excuse. Amara said nothing. Her face was calm. Kofi turned to Lady Morayo. Your turn. Morayo lifted her chin. Your Highness, I acted in the Crown's best interest. Zuri Okafor was convicted of theft. Court records were sealed by you within 24 hours of her conviction. Why? To protect the royal family from embarrassment, or to hide the fact that evidence was fabricated? Morayo's eyes flashed. That's a serious accusation. Then let's examine it. Kofi projected the palace jeweller's testimony, newly obtained by his investigator. Master Atto, palace jeweller for 35 years. He states, quote, on the morning of March 14th, Lady Morayo instructed me to report specific jewelry pieces as missing. She told me to confirm that I had seen Zuri Okafor near the Queen's chambers the previous night. I complied because I feared losing my position, end quote. He looked at Morayo. Master Atto is here today. Would you like to call him a liar to his face? An elderly man stood in the gallery. His hands trembled, but his voice was strong. I have lived with that shame for 20 years, Your Highness. I'm ready to tell the truth now. Morayo's composure cracked. He's mistaken. It was 20 years ago. Memory is unreliable. Then explain this. Kofi projected the final document. A bank transfer record. 3 days after Zuri's conviction, you transferred 10,000 francs from a private account to Master Atto. The memo reads, consultation fee. What consultation? Morayo said nothing. I'll tell you. You paid him to lie. You framed Zuri Okafor because she witnessed something you needed to hide. He projected Zuri's testimony, the description of the affair. The meeting in the garden. The foreign diplomat. The room erupted. Voices overlapped. Camera shutters clicked furiously. Kofi raised his hand for silence. Queen Seraphine, please stand. His mother rose slowly from the audience. She looked decades older than her 58 years. Is this testimony accurate? Her voice was barely a whisper. Yes, did you have an affair with Lord Idris Okoro? Yes, did you know Zuri Okafor witnessed it? Yes. Did you ask Lady Morayo to handle the situation? Queen Seraphine's tears fell. Yes, I didn't know what she would do. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. That makes me complicit. I take full responsibility. Kofi's voice softened slightly. Why didn't you stop it when you learned the truth? Because I was afraid. Afraid of scandal. Afraid of losing everything. So I let an innocent woman lose everything instead. She turned to Amara. I'm sorry. Those words are worthless, but they're all I have. Amara stood. The room held its breath. Your Majesty, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because my grandmother taught me that mercy isn't for the guilty, it's for the wounded. Carrying your guilt would only hurt me. So I release it. She paused. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequence. What you did will follow you. As it should. Queen Seraphine nodded, weeping openly now. Thank you. You're more gracious than I have any right to expect. Kofi gestured for his mother to sit. She did, collapsing into her chair. He turned back to Morayo. Lady Morayo, you have orchestrated a 20-year cover-up. You framed an innocent woman. You paid witnesses to lie. You deleted royal registry records. You ordered palace security to assault a citizen with legitimate credentials. Under Royal Justice Code Section 91, these actions constitute conspiracy, evidence tampering, witness intimidation, and abuse of power. Each charge carries a minimum sentence of 5 years. Morayo shot to her feet. Everything I did to protect this kingdom. The Queen's affair would have toppled the monarchy. Zuri Okafor was collateral damage for the greater good. Collateral damage. Kofi's voice was dangerously quiet. She was a human being, a hero, and you turned her into a criminal to save your own position of power. I was protecting the crown. No, you were protecting yourself. He gestured to the guards. Take her into custody. 2 officers approached. Morayo backed away, wild-eyed. You can't do this. I've served this family for 30 years. So I've sacrificed everything. You sacrificed nothing. You sacrificed other people. Kofi's voice was final. Remove her. The guards took Morayo by the arms. She struggled briefly, then went limp. As they led her past Amara, she spat one last sentence. You'll always be the orphan who got lucky. That's all you are. Amara looked her in the eye. And you'll always be the woman who destroyed a hero. I know which I'd rather be. Morayo was escorted out. The jade ring slipped from her finger and clattered on the marble floor. No one picked it up. Kofi addressed the assembly. The throne issues the following rulings. Lady Marayo, stripped of all titles and properties. 20 years imprisonment. Assets liquidated to establish the Zuri Okafor Justice Fund, 2.1 million francs. For citizens wrongfully accused, Commander Javan, dishonorably discharged. 5 years imprisonment for assault and discrimination. Pension revoked. Queen Seraphine, abdication from public duties effective immediately. You will retain your title but hold no governmental power. You will personally fund 50 university scholarships in Zuri Okafor's name. 1 million francs from your personal estate. His mother nodded, eyes closed. Finally, palace security protocols will be reformed immediately. An independent review board will investigate all sealed cases from the past 30 years. Any wrongful convictions will be overturned and reparations paid. He stood. The crown on his head caught the light. This kingdom failed Zuri Okafor. We will not fail her granddaughter. He walked down from the throne and stopped in front of Amara, removed his royal sash, deep purple silk embroidered with gold, and placed it over her shoulders. You are under the crown's protection. Anyone who harms you harms me. The room exploded into applause. Cameras flashed. Amara stood frozen, the weight of the sash settling on her shoulders. Kofi leaned close, voice low enough that only she could hear. This is just the beginning. If you'll let me, I want to rebuild what they broke. Not just for you, for everyone they silenced. Amara looked up at him. How I'm establishing a royal reform commission. Independent oversight of wrongful convictions and abuse of power. I want you to lead it. I'm not qualified. You're the only one qualified. You've survived what we're trying to fix. Will you do it? She thought of her grandmother. The thimble. The bridge railing. The champagne-stained dress. Yes, Kofi smiled. Genuine, warm. Then let's get to work. As the assembly dissolved into chaos, reporters rushed forward. Questions flew. Amara stood in the center of it all. Silver thimble around her neck. Royal sash across her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she wasn't invisible. She was undeniable. 3 days after the assembly, Kofi invited Amara to walk the palace gardens. They sat on a stone bench overlooking the Kono River, the same water where Zuri had saved him. I need to know your terms, Kofi said. For leading the Reform Commission, what do you need from me? Amara spoke carefully. First, we're partners, not employer and employee. The commission has final say. You advise, not override, agreed. Second, my past stays public. The viral video stays up. People need to see what happened, agreed. Third, I need therapy. Trauma doesn't vanish because justice was served, already arranged. Dr. Mosi Adeyemi, 3 sessions weekly, as long as you need, fully funded. And fourth, we move slowly. Trusting power takes time. Kofi nodded. I've waited 20 years to keep a promise. I can wait longer to earn your trust. He paused. There's something else. When I saw you walk away in the rain, something shifted. I'm not asking for anything. I just need you to know. You matter to me. Not as a symbol. As a person. Amara's breath caught. I'm not ready for this. Whatever this is, I'm not asking you to be ready. I'm just asking you not to disappear. I won't. Then that's enough. 6 months passed. The Zuri Okafor Justice Fund reviewed 214 cases. 47 wrongful convictions were overturned. Families received reparations totaling 3.2 million francs. Amara enrolled at Royal University studying law. Classes in the morning, commission meetings in the afternoon, therapy 3 evenings weekly. Dr. Mosi taught her healing wasn't linear. Strong some days, bedridden others. Both valid. The viral video stayed online. She stopped reading comments but wouldn't take it down. It was evidence. A scar that told truth. Zuri's house opened in Emberfield 8 months post-assembly. Legal aid, job training, mental health services. Dr. Thandiwe ran medical. Musa managed the library. Village elders who demanded Amara's apology now volunteered there. Action couldn't undo complicity, but it could begin addressing it. Amara visited monthly, taught rights workshops, listened to people the system had broken. She didn't forgive everyone. Some wounds stayed wounds, but she learned to carry them without being defined by them. Lady Marayo served her sentence in silence. Her daughter visited quarterly. Not reconciling, just understanding. Accountability mattered more than forgiveness. Queen Seraphine funded the scholarships as promised. She wrote Amara 1 letter a year later. You are the queen I never was. Thank you for showing mercy. Amara never responded. Some boundaries were permanent. Commander Javan wrote from prison. Apologies, explanations, regrets. Amara read the first letter, then asked the palace to stop forwarding them. Forgiveness doesn't require relationship, Dr. Mosey had said. You can release anger without inviting harm back. Amara practiced that daily. Kofi kept his promise. No rushing. No pushing. They worked side by side, partners becoming friends. One evening after a brutal hearing, they walked the gardens again. Do you regret it? Kofi asked. You could have walked away. Started over every day, Amara admitted. But I also wake up and choose to stay. That's the difference between surviving and living. You're braver than you think. I'm more tired than you think. She smiled. But I'm still here. That's all courage is, Kofi said. Showing up. Again. Amara looked at the river, then at him. Thank you for searching. His hand found hers. Thank you for letting me find you. 18 months post-assembly, Kofi was crowned king after his mother's official abdication. Amara stood beside him as chief advisor on justice reform, a newly created position. The coronation drew 50,000 spectators. When Kofi took the throne, he paused and turned to Amara. None of this means anything if we don't remember why we're here. This crown was built on the backs of people like Zuri Okafor, heroes the system tried to erase. My first act as king, I'm issuing a formal pardon posthumously for every wrongful conviction overturned by the Reform Commission. He lifted a document. 47 names, 47 families, starting with Zuri Okafor, who gave me life twice. Once in a river, once by refusing to let injustice be invisible. The crowd erupted. Amara stood, silver thimble catching light, and finally allowed herself to cry, not from pain. From release. Later, in the quiet of the palace library, Kofi found her staring at her grandmother's portrait, newly hung in the Hall of Heroes. She'd be proud of you, he said. She'd be proud we didn't forget, Amara corrected. That's all she wanted, to be remembered. She'll never be forgotten now. Amara turned to him. Neither will you. The reformer king. I prefer the king who listened. She smiled. Genuine, easy. That works too. They stood in comfortable silence. Outside, silver rain began to fall. Not the storm of humiliation, but the gentle cleansing kind. Amara reached for Kofi's hand. He took it, and they stood together, watching water run clean. 2 years later, Amara returned to Emberfield village. She drove herself. A modest car, nothing extravagant. She wore jeans and her university sweatshirt. The silver thimble, as always, hung around her neck. Zuri's house had grown. 3 buildings now, medical wing, library, counseling center. 200 families served monthly. She taught that afternoon. Know your rights under Decree 447. 30 people attended, all carrying stories the system had tried to bury. Afterward, a young woman approached. Maybe 19, nervous. Miss Okafor? I'm Nia. I saw your video 2 years ago. The one at the palace gates. Amara's chest tightened, but she smiled. And everyone was calling you a liar. I believed them. Then the truth came out, and I realized I'd been taught to side with power automatically. You changed that. Nia's voice cracked. You made me question who I believe and why. Amara took her hand. Don't let anyone tell you you're too small to matter. You're not. Nia nodded, tears falling, and walked away lighter. Dr. Thandiwe joined Amara in the courtyard with 2 cups of tea. She's not the first, Dr. Thandiwe said, and she won't be the last. You've given people permission to be seen. Grandmother gave me permission. I'm just passing it on. Zuri would be so proud, Amara smiled. I hope so. That evening, Kofi called. They spoke most nights now, sometimes about work, sometimes about nothing at all. How was the workshop? He asked, full, powerful, exhausting. Good exhausted or bad exhausted? The kind that reminds me why I didn't jump off that bridge. Silence, then Kofi's voice soft. I'm glad you didn't. Me too. Dinner tomorrow? I'll cook, Amara laughed. You can't cook. I'll order takeout and pretend I made it. Deal. She hung up smiling. Later, she sat at her grandmother's grave. Fresh flowers. Clean headstone. The inscription read, Zuri Okafor, hero, seamstress, truth-teller, 1945 to 2023. She dove in without hesitation. So should we all. Amara traced the letters. I did it, grandmother. I made them remember you. And I didn't disappear. The wind rustled through silver flowers planted around the grave. Kofi's idea. She thought about the girl she'd been 2 years ago, soaked, humiliated, holding torn paper in the rain. She thought about the woman she was now, tired but unbroken, flawed but fighting. The journey wasn't over. Some days still felt impossible. But she'd learned something crucial. Courage wasn't fearlessness. It was showing up afraid and doing it anyway, standing when they told you to kneel, existing when they wanted you erased. Amara stood, brushed dirt from her knees and walked back to her car. Tomorrow, she'd return to the capital, classes, commission hearings, therapy. Dinner with a king who was learning to be a man first. But tonight, she drove home to Emberfield. The village that had shunned her and now celebrated her. Anne slept in her own bed. No nightmares, just silver rain on the roof, and the quiet knowledge that she'd survived. Have you ever been made invisible by people who should have seen you? Have you faced injustice and wondered if speaking up was worth it? This is what African stories do. They remind us that life stories matter. That touching stories like Amara's aren't just real-life stories from distant places. They're mirrors. Your voice matters. Your dignity is non-negotiable. Your existence is not up for debate. Comment below. What would you do in Amara's position? Have you chosen between silence and truth? Share your story. Someone needs to hear it. Like this video if Amara's journey moved you. Subscribe for more African stories that center healing over hate, boundaries over revenge, and the quiet power of refusing to disappear. Share with someone who needs this reminder. Next story. The fisherman's daughter who became a judge and judged her own father. Coming Friday, remember, the most powerful act of resistance is refusing to believe what cruelty says about your worth. You are not invisible. You never were.